Hey y'all, TRG here, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we'll be talking about multiple storms that will impact the United States with snow as well as the potential for severe weather. Let's go right on into today's video. I apologize if I sound different. I'm getting over what feels like the 15th sickness so far this year. We're going to start out with our GFS 12Z model run with the 500 millibar height wind speeds. So let's go ahead and pull this on out here. We're going to pull this all the way out till Saturday. That's when our first storm system is going to start impacting the central portions of the United States around the time frame of December 14th. As we go throughout the 14th of December, we could see a severe storm or two on the southern exit region of this trough ejection, placing it over portions of Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas into Missouri and Arkansas. The main story of this system, though, is probably going to be the snowfall potential and or the ice storm that we could see up towards Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, eastern Nebraska into northern Illinois. As we pull this out into Saturday night into Sunday morning, you'll see a larger trough off to the west out here in the Pacific Northwest. That is a negatively tilted trough ejection going into Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon. This system is going to bring the potential for severe weather as we go into Sunday night and Monday morning as it makes its way throughout the central and northern high plains. This could also bring a snowstorm to North Dakota, Minnesota, but most likely the most notable part of this system is probably going to end up being the severe weather potential that it could bring out here for portions of Oklahoma, Arkansas, into Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Kansas, and Missouri. A lot of states could get severe weather out of this singular large trough as we go through Sunday and Monday. Pulling that out into Tuesday, that trough pulls into Ontario, and you'll see that pull up into the northeast as we go into Tuesday. Here's Tuesday night, and you'll see another large trough ejection over a good chunk of the northern and central sides of the United States. The main threat with this one could be a very marginal severe threat for portions of the south central plains into the deep south. However, this system looks like it's really not going to cause many impacts for the United States going into Wednesday. Then as we head in here towards the 19th and 20th of December, we are probably going to see this massive blast of cold air impact much of the United States. And then right about 3-4 days after that, going into the 22nd, we'll see another blast here. So we're going to get two blasts of cold air, one here on the 19th and then another one here on the 20th, maybe the 21st. So pretty much back-to-back cold blasts of cold air before we head on into Christmas. And I do think Christmas will probably end up being a pretty inactive one. We probably will end up with some snow potential somewhere in the far northern side of the U.S. or the northeast side of the U.S., but I don't think we'll see any massive Christmas snowstorm for this year. Before we head on into the rest of today's video, I ask that you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like the video, and share the video with your family, friends, and on social media to help spread weather awareness. Let's go right back on into today's video. Now we're going to look at your precipitation type here on the GFS model run. This is a lot more easier to understand than the 500 millibar height wind speeds. And like I said, going here into Saturday, we'll probably end up with a very marginal severe weather threat in Oklahoma, Arkansas, into Kansas and Missouri. But the main system, or rather the main story with this system, is going to end up being that ice storm or snowfall that we see up there in Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, Wisconsin, into northern Illinois. Pushing that on into Sunday, all the way here to Sunday night, you'll see our next system gets going. You'll see all this moisture return here towards the Gulf states. That's going to allow for potential severe weather setup. And then overnight, Sunday night into Monday morning, we'll see that severe weather threat continue to push off to the east. We'll see a potential snowstorm up here in Canada going into the far north central United States into Monday morning. And then we could even get another severe weather threat going into Monday night out here towards Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, maybe even into portions of Tennessee as well. Pulling that into Wednesday, there's our other storm system. Like I said, probably not going to do much. We could see a very, very small severe threat in the far south central side of the United States, but it probably won't be that notable as we go into Wednesday. And then pulling this into Thursday, there's that first big blast of cold air. You can see that freezing line all the way down here into the Appalachian Mountain range in western North Carolina, pulling that into Friday. You'll see that second blast right in here, very large blast of Arctic air pulling in into Friday, December 20th, and then into Saturday, December 21st. GFS has this giving a lot of snow to actually parts of the deep south into the southern mid-Atlantic states. But in terms of snowfall, that is definitely a big question mark. You can see here the GFS actually wants a nor'easter to get going on December 22nd here for portions of the mid-Atlantic into the northeast. I wouldn't be so confident in that. I believe this is the only model run that shows this scenario, but almost every model run shows 1 to 2 Arctic blasts impacting the United States from the 19th to the 22nd, but I'm pretty sure the GFS is the only one that shows that big nor'easter. Now getting into your severe weather potential using your supercell composite here in the GFS model run, we're going to pull this all the way out to Friday night into Saturday morning, where our first severe weather threat could kick off out here in portions of Oklahoma into Texas. Pulling that into Saturday afternoon, that severe threat may push into portions of Arkansas and Missouri. Pulling that all the way out to Sunday morning, now going into Sunday afternoon, you'll see that same setup kind of occur here going into Sunday night, where we see a severe threat possible in Texas and Oklahoma. Going into Monday morning, that pushes off to the north and east into Arkansas, Missouri, maybe even into Illinois, into western Louisiana. And then Monday, that severe threat transfers into the deep south, going into Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, maybe even pushing into western Alabama. Pulling that even out further here, you'll see that very small severe threat possible Tuesday going in towards Texas, Louisiana, maybe into far southern Arkansas. And then after that, our severe weather pattern is going to start calming down as we don't see any big troughs from that time frame. Of course, we get that massive positively tilted trough that pulls in on the 19th and then the 21st. However, that's fully positive, which means it will not bring any severe weather potential. And you'll just see there, I mean, the rest of the GFS model run really doesn't have any notable severe weather threats. So I do think we'll end up with a small severe risk going into a Saturday morning. I also think we'll end up with a small severe risk going into Sunday night, and then maybe even pushing on into your Monday afternoon and evening time frame. Here's a look at your Climate Prediction Center for December 17th through the 21st. You'll see they have an above average chance for precipitation in Texas, as well as over in much of the eastern side of the United States, with way drier and way warmer conditions out there in most of the western portions of the United States, and also warmer conditions on the east coast as well. And then after that, going on into your Christmas time frame here from the 19th to the 25th, you'll see a much larger area of warmer temperatures out here in the western portion and even central portions of the U.S., with below average temperatures in Florida, as well as above average precip on the east coast and the southern portion of Florida. So we could actually get some precipitation out here towards North Carolina and Virginia. Whether or not that will be a snowstorm, we'll just have to see about the temperatures at that time frame. I also do think that we will see way cooler temperatures out in this area as well. The reason why they have above average probably out here in Missouri and Kansas is they may not think that trough's going to pull as far southwest as what the GFS model is showing. But generally, right where I've circled here, we're still going to see 1 or 2 Arctic blasts, and they're probably going to end up bringing freezing, if not well below freezing temperatures to a good chunk of the central and eastern U.S. Looking at your risk for hazardous temperatures, the CPC actually has a risk for hazardous cold temperatures going into the 22nd and the 23rd of December out there for the far southern portion of the United States. So we've already looked at the GFS model run. Now let's look at the European model run and see how similar it is to the GFS. Pulling this on out all the way until Saturday, you'll see the European model run also has some precipitation out here in Oklahoma into Texas and Kansas and Missouri. Some of that, especially on the far southern side, talking about Oklahoma and Texas, will most likely be accompanied by a very small severe weather risk. Pulling it out just 2 frames more into Saturday morning here, you'll see just a very small amount of precipitation getting going out here in Iowa and southern Minnesota. Not really a snowstorm or much of snowfall at all, which is definitely different than the GFS. The GFS had a much more potent ice storm potential out there in Iowa and Minnesota. Pulling that out towards Sunday, where we should see another system pull into the U.S., and you'll see the European model model run does have that possible severe threat kicking up very early Monday morning, so it takes quite a bit longer to get going here on the Euro model. That could actually result in a much more minimal severe threat because instability will be depleting overnight Sunday night into Monday morning. So the later that severe threat is, the lesser that severe threat will most likely end up being. It also has that snow potential still going into North Dakota and Minnesota as we go through Monday morning. Pulling that into Tuesday, it continues that precipitation into the deep south, most likely accompanied still by a small severe weather risk. And now what I'm most curious about is to see what it does here with the cold blast. So the first cold blast here on the 19th, the European model run actually has a potential snowstorm for portions of the northern Midwest into much of the Northeast, which is very interesting. The GFS didn't have that whatsoever. And then with your second blast going into the 20th and the 21st here, it tries to get a nor'easter going, and it ends up succeeding with a nor'easter, but it's almost completely out of the U.S. by the time it actually gets to a nor'easter, only affecting Maine, Nova Scotia, going into the far eastern portions of the Northeast, like far eastern Massachusetts as well, but not really similar to the GFS. I mean, the GFS had a nor'easter going up literally the entirety of the eastern portions of the U.S., whereas the European only had that for like the far northeastern side of the U.S. So I definitely still see those two big blasts of cold air going all the way from the 19th to the 22nd, but definitely different in terms of the precipitation accompanied by that Arctic blast compared to the GFS there. So definitely an interesting European model run there. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I know it was a little bit shorter. I apologize if I messed up a few times. Like I said, I am sick, and hopefully I'll be over this sickness in the next 2 days so we can end up doing a potential severe weather live stream whenever the severe threat ends up occurring. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe. Goodbye.